Hi, folks. Thanks for joining. We're going to start the meeting at 10:05, so we'll give folks a few minutes to kind of transition from their previous appointments. So we'll be starting up officially at 10:05. So if you need a little break, feel free to take it now. Hi, folks. It's 10 o'clock. We're going to give everyone until 10:05 to start the meeting officially. So if you need a little break, please take it now, and we'll start in 5 minutes. Hey, folks, just a heads up, we'll be opening up the meeting officially here at 10:05. Hi, folks. Let's go ahead and get started. Just want to go ahead and give you an official welcome to this meeting, which is the Triennial Review for the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe's Water Quality Triennial Review. This is an introductory public meeting, and I'm Mandy Binkson from SWCA. I just want to point out a few of the tribe's collaborators for this effort. First is the United States Environmental Protection Agency, who's been working very closely with the tribe throughout this process. SWCA Environmental Consultants is helping out, and the Desert Research Institute, as well as the University of California, Davis, is also providing technical support. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. This meeting is being recorded. Most of you are joining as participants in this meeting, and that means that you don't immediately have video or audio permissions. So if you do wish to participate, you can put any questions or comments into the Q&A box, and we'll be able to answer those at the end of the meeting. If any technical issues arise, Jen Nguyen from SWCA is online and she can address those. So feel free to put any technical issues just in that chat box, the Q&A box as well. If you do want to speak at the end of the meeting, you can raise your hand and you'll be given permissions to provide comment or questions at the end of the meeting. If you're joining on the phone, if you want to raise your hand to speak, you can hit *9 and we'll allow you to speak at the end of the meeting. This meeting is really focusing on the Triennial Review process. The analysis for the Triennial Review is currently underway, and so we won't be able to address any technical questions. So we would encourage you, if you do have technical questions, to come to the meeting on June 28th, and we'll be able to address them then. I also want to just point out that there is a project landing page where you can get all sorts of helpful information on this Triennial Review process. That URL is in the bottom right-hand corner of this intro slide, so go ahead and write that down. That's a really great place. It's a way that you can sign up for future meetings, as well as you can get information about how to post comments and questions officially. So with that, I'm happy to introduce Aaron Bill. Aaron is the Water Quality Program Manager for the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe, and he's going to be presenting some really helpful information today and giving you everything you need to know about this Triennial Review process, and he'll be able to answer questions at the end. So with that, you can take it away, Aaron. Thanks.
Hi, Mandy. Thank you for the introduction. I want to welcome everybody to today's introductory public workshop. I'm employed by the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe as a Water Quality Program Manager under the Natural Resources Department. So today we'll be discussing the Triennial Review process as it is codified within the so-called Clean Water Act, and also based upon previous efforts by the Pyramid Lake Tribal Water Quality Program during previous Triennial Review periods. This presentation serves as a roadmap for the upcoming dates and milestones within the Triennial Review process. Here is the agenda for today's presentation. We will proceed first with an overview of the Pyramid Lake Paiute Reservation and about the importance of the ecosystem and what makes the watershed unique. Then we will explore the history of the Tribal Water Quality Program. We will speak about the need for the Triennial Review process as it is prescribed within the Clean Water Act. Then we will review the elements of water quality standards. We will then move on to identifying key components within the Triennial Review process, including identifying stakeholders, the data analyses and review process, and about revising water quality standards. Then we will talk about the upcoming public outreach and involvement opportunities, including hosting public workshops and then ultimately the public hearing. The Pyramid Lake Paiute Reservation is located in the high desert of Western Nevada, approximately 33 miles northeast of the Reno-Sparks metropolitan area. The reservation covers about 477 1,000 acres, or about 742 square miles, and Pyramid Lake itself covers 117,000 acres, or about 188 square miles, and is located entirely within the boundaries of the reservation. The Lake Tahoe Pyramid Lake watershed is connected by the Truckee River, which flows 121 miles from Lake Tahoe to Pyramid Lake. The river itself is the largest input into Pyramid Lake, and Pyramid Lake is a desert terminal lake where water only leads through evaporation. Now, this is important to the condition of the lake, where we are largely dependent on trying to balance a water quality and water quantity. The reservation contains many perennial and intermittent streams, 12 which are monitored by the program. We also have scattered springs throughout the reservation, and our wetland program staff monitors 22 wetlands of various types. Activities of the program are largely, they largely mirror the objectives of the Clean Water Act to assess, protect, and maintain the chemical, physical, and biological conditions of water bodies on the reservation. There are approximately 2,288 enrolled members of the tribe, with about 1,300 that reside on the reservation. The lake is home to the endangered Kiwi or Kiwi suckerfish, and is also home to the threatened Laha'an cutthroat trout. Both of these species are interwoven within the cultural identity of the Paiute people, or Numu as we call ourselves. The Pyramid Lake Fisheries Hatchery Program began in 1949 to restock after fish populations dwindled along with the water level. Excuse me. Since the tribe took over fisheries responsibilities in 1974, it has worked with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to balance conservation and sport fishing to build a world-renowned fishery. The water quality monitoring activities began under the Pyramid Lake Fisheries Department in 1981, and lake monitoring activities expanded in 1986. In the late 1980s, a study by researchers from the University of California, Davis was commissioned to establish reasonable and scientifically sound set of water quality standards, similar to the state of Nevada, but also site-specific to Pyramid Lake. Once the tribe was able to prove its capabilities to carry out the capacities of a functioning water quality standards program, the US EPA granted the tribe authority in May 1990 under Section 106 of the Clean Water Act to develop a water quality standards program under 518 as treatment similar to a state. In 1998, monitoring activities were extended to reservation streams and the lower Truckee River on the reservation. In late 2001, the Tribal Council approved the first set of water quality standards in the Water Quality Control Plan. Later in 2007, the tribe received treatment as a state authority under Section 303 and 401 of the Clean Water Act. In 2008 and later in 2015, the tribe went through the Triennial review process and was able to have revised water quality standards approved by both the Tribal Council and the EPA. Before we proceed to the Triennial review process, we must first review the components of water quality standards. Remember, at a minimum, water quality standards must provide for the protection and propagation of fish, shellfish, and wildlife, and also for recreation, which are the stated goals of the Clean Water Act in Section 101A2. First, our uses, also known as designated uses, sometimes referred to as established uses. They are established to be management objectives for a water body. In other words, how will the water be used? Second, water quality criteria describe the water quality characteristics necessary to protect the set of designated uses established for a water body. And then anti-degradation is the framework for protecting and maintaining the water quality already attained. To demonstrate the importance of each of these components, I like to use the three-legged stool analogy. If one leg is weak, the whole thing will fall over. So for uses, the most important cultural, community, and recreational uses of water were identified. For the Pyramid Lake tribe, uses included, but not are limited to, primary contact for ceremonial and cultural use, for recreational uses, for cold water habitat, for irrigation, and for the protection and propagation of threatened or endangered aquatic life. The second component, criteria are descriptions or indicators of the chemical, biological, or physical conditions of the water. Numeric criteria express actual concentrations of chemicals or other measurable parameters of a water body, while narrative criteria are concise declarations usually expressed as free-from statements that express qualitative conditions. Typically, if the criteria for the most sensitive use is being met, all others are considered protected. Anti-degradation, the third component of water quality standards, where minimum requirements must conserve, maintain, and protect the beneficial uses of a water body by maintaining existing high quality water conditions. So the reason why we hold training reviews occasionally is actually codified within the Clean Water Act in section 303 C1 and within implementing regulations within the Code of Federal Regulations at 40 CFR 131.20, which requires that states and tribes from time to time, but at least every 3 years, hold public hearings to review appropriate water quality standards and to revise them if necessary. States and tribes may revise their water quality standards, including additions or revisions to designated uses, water quality criteria, anti-degradation policies, or other general policies. Here are the things to consider when you review water quality standards. You must consider any new federal, state, or tribal statutes, regulations, or guidance, any recent legal decisions involving water quality standards, any new or updated scientific information from the EPA, meaningful input from public comment, newly available water quality monitoring data, information from previous triennial reviews, and or changes in circumstances affecting attainability of certain water quality standards. Now, these next series of slides really are the meat of this presentation. These next few slides will describe the process that we will be going to introducing or revising existing water quality standards. In the beginning, the EPA recommends that states and tribes conduct early coordination with the EPA, largely to gain feedback and to proactively avoid areas of concern. Once again, in section 303 C1 of the Clean Water Act and within regulations at 40 CFR 131.20, states and tribes are required to hold public hearings to review water quality standards and then submit those results to the EPA. All right, skip the slide. Informing the need of water quality standard revision begins with informing the public. So today, in this introductory public workshop, we'll explain the goals of the Clean Water Act. We'll review the elements of water quality standards, and we'll also go over the process for revising water quality standards within the Triennial review. First, data review and analysis begin, as well as identifying stakeholders for public outreach. This includes review of water bodies' established uses, water quality criteria, and anti-degradation policies. We compare those to field measurements and other analytical data to see if existing criteria upholds existing uses. At this time, updated EPA recommended criteria shall also be considered. In these next few slides, this red icon will show us each step of the process as it comes to the schedule that we have scheduled upcoming. When we do revise our water quality standards, we will post a draft, and revisions of the water quality control plan shall be posted in red line version, which conveys to the public in a clear and concise manner where changes occur to beneficial uses, water quality criteria, or anti-degradation policies. Following this introductory public workshop, we shall be posting revisions to the water quality control plan on our website, tentatively scheduled for June 18th, 2022. Please visit plptwq.org/triennial review for more information. Informing stakeholders through public workshops and hearings helps build support in the communities involved, and the triennial review process ensures that public involvement increases the effectiveness of revising these standards. So we hold workshops where we seek to educate the public on the revised water quality standards, and we solicit public comment on the posted water quality standards draft. This workshop is scheduled for June 28th, 2022. The EPA encourages states and tribes to solicit public input through various means such as webinars and social media. I encourage everybody to visit our website at plptwq.org/triennial review to submit your comments. The Tribal Water Quality Program will also hold a more formal public hearing on August 2nd, 2022, where public comment shall be recorded. And while not all suggestions are acted upon, all comments merit a response based upon scientific or tribal policy bases. Based upon public comment, the final draft of the revised water quality standards will be released and then goes on to be finalized by the Tribal Council. Again, I remind everybody to visit our website at plptwq.org/triennial review for links to register for the public hearing and also to leave comment. After drafting the finalized revisions of the water quality standards, the tribal government authority or the tribal council must formally adopt these by tribal resolution. Upon gaining adoption by tribal resolution, submission of the finalized draft of the water quality standards must be completed and submitted to the EPA within 30 days of the tribal resolution. The EPA then grants final approval. The submissions must include the revisions or additions to the water quality use water quality control plan, including water use designations, changes to water quality criteria, along with scientific justification or changes to the anti-degradation policy. Other components of the submission must include information on the revision of the basis of scientific or tribal policy. Also, documentation from the public involvement opportunities must be included. That means the minutes from all the public meetings, hearings, and workshops, public comments and responses, along with the formal tribal resolution and adoption by the tribal council. If this packet is submitted to the EPA and then rejected, the EPA can promulgate federal water quality standards if the tribe does not submit corrections within 90 days following the date of rejection. We will take this opportunity in the slide to go back to some of the components of the triennial review process, including identifying stakeholders. This is an important component to the process. And in 2015, we identified stakeholders accruing to groups of industry that affect environmental management. In agriculture, we identified the Truckee-Carson Irrigation District, which diverts water from the Truckee River upstream to upstream of the reservation boundary to areas to the east. Urban area stakeholders include Reno-Sparks in Washoe County and water managers such as the Truckee Meadows Water Authority and the Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility, which operates on TMDL permits for nitrogen and total dissolved solids discharge on the Truckee River. The town of Truckee, California was also identified as an interstate stakeholder as the town lies on the upper Truckee River as it flows from California to Nevada. Government entities like the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection, the United States EPA, and the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission were also identified as stakeholders, including tribal government departments on the reservation, the 3 communities, as well as non-government associations, such as the Cattlemen's Association. Part of the training review process involves data set review. We gather data from several sources as we consider revisions to water quality standards. Use of these data sets include vetting the source material, the methodologies of collecting the data, as well as contemplation as to what we consider usable data. We must consider times of high and low flows. We must consider the dynamic nature of the watershed, and the water quality program activities reflect that vigilance. Recall the objectives of the Clean Water Act: to restore and maintain the chemical, physical, and biological integrity of the nation's waters. With that in mind, our tribal water quality program utilizes YSI XO 1 and 3 sondes to record field measurements. These sondes have multi-parameter sensors that can monitor temperature, salinity, pH, turbidity, specific conductance, total dissolved solid content, and dissolved oxygen content. We also have 2 continuous monitoring stations that record field measurements every 30 minutes, located in Wadsworth and Nixon. The Tribal Water Quality Program also conducts monthly sampling activities along 10 areas on the Truckee River, and we run nutrient quantification tests for orthophosphate, total phosphate, ammonia, inorganic nitrogens like nitrates and nitrites, as well as total Caldol nitrogen. Streams and wetlands are also sampled annually. We also conduct a test for E. coli, alkalinity, and metals content on surface waters. Water quality program also conducts bioassessments annually on reservation streams and the Truckee River. Macroinvertebrate surveys also inform us on the quality of the physical conditions of the river, and staff personnel identifies plants along the water bodies for canopy cover. Additional programs that the Natural Resources Department does every year include our harmful algal blooms monitoring program, as well as running our aquatic invasive species program, which runs a watercraft inspection and decontamination station to ward off any potential invasive species. Information gathered from these activities go into developing criteria to better protect water quality. From time to time, the EPA releases recommended criteria of selected pollutants that states and tribes can incorporate into their water quality control plans without the need for further scientific justification. In 2022, we will be drafting EPA recommended criteria to be discussed at the upcoming public involvement workshop on June 28th and at the public hearing scheduled for August 2nd. Once again, I encourage everybody to visit our website, plptwq.org/Triennial Review for more information. These next two slides summarize the efforts by the water quality program to involve the public within this process. We are holding this introductory workshop today to inform the public on the basics of water quality standards of the Triennial Review and subsequent public outreach processes. Following drafting of the revised water quality standards on June 18th, we'll hold an additional public workshop on June 28th, where we'll explain the data analyses and the reasons for revised standards. We seek to involve as many stakeholder groups as possible. Holding meetings over Zoom ensures access for everybody involved. The public comment period will last from June 18th all the way through August 3rd, 2022. Sorry, but we could only accept comments on proposed changes to the water quality control plan. And responses to these comments will be recorded in the public record. I want to take this opportunity to remind everybody to visit our website, plptwq.org/Triennial Review for more information. For proposed changes, a final public hearing will be held on August 2nd, 2022 through Zoom. We shall document the public testimony for our responses as well. And all this will be documented and sent to the EPA. This reaches the conclusion of today's presentation. If anybody has any questions, please either raise your hand or submit them to the chat box. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Great presentation. So we've got some time to answer questions or to take comments. We would encourage you to, as he said, put those in the Q&A box. Or if you do want to speak up, if you're an attendee, please go ahead and raise your hand now. All right. Looks like Mervyn Wright would like to speak.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, good job, Aaron. Just a question on some unregulated contaminants, PFAS, some endocrine disruptors, things like that. Is there any progress being made to include those types of contaminants as far as monitoring or including as part of the water quality program?
Aaron or Donna, do you want to address that if you're able to right now?
From what I know,
Go
the
ahead.
EPA is still they're working and finalizing their recommended criteria. I know that
Yeah,
they were taking comments on their they were kind of releasing some of their data for public comment, and I don't believe they've officially released recommended criteria at this moment.
Yeah, Mervin, I think the EPA is, kind of using Maine as a test run for PFAS. And since they do not have authority over their water quality, so they have it in EPA's hands. So PFAS is a little further down the road, and there just isn't enough I would say data on endocrine disruptors or pharmaceuticals to really put them into standards, especially for the Truckee River. But they're, they all kind of fall under the anti-degradation policy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mervin. Any other questions or comments? I don't see any coming in on the Q&A, but if you would like to say something, please feel free to raise your hand now. Okay, not seeing any more questions or comments coming in. Any of the panelists want to say something or conclude?
Hi, this is Dave Simpson with NDEP. I just would like to say, Aaron, good job. We just went through this not long ago, so good job.
Thanks, David. Okay, any other questions or comments? Doesn't look like we have any. I think you covered it, Aaron. Great job. So with that, I think we can call it a wrap. Just again, reminder, we have the slide pulled up here. If you do have questions or comments you want to submit in the future, this is the official place to do it. And then as Aaron said throughout the meeting, there is that Triennial review website at the bottom right-hand corner of that slide there. So that's where you can sign up for the next meeting. So stay tuned. There will be a lot more information coming out for that June 28th, or sorry, July 28th meeting. So thank you all so much. Oh, sorry, I said July, I meant June 28th meeting. So yeah, thanks everybody, and we'll be in touch soon. Thanks so much.